Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, I plugged it in 2 times so it would be twice as fast. I have complicated problems. But it doesn't have a second tray. You don't know what you're talking about. Cropping images, the confounding process. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I plugged it in 2 times so it would be twice as fast. It has been a while since I have had a chance to post. The labor market is tight on supply, which means, as a consultant, my inbox is constantly full of work requests. And even though I've increased my rates for new customers by 50%, businesses seem more than happy to still pay my hourly rate. There is no way the market can sustain hourly rates like this, but I'm going to make the cash while it lasts, even if that means 80-hour weeks. Anyway, just had a job ghost on me tonight. I'll keep the deposit. Thank you very much, wanker guy who let me drive the whole way to a job site to find the place locked up tight. So here is a funny short one I recently ran into recently. And, as always, no matter how you market yourself, no matter how much branding you splash over everything, no matter if your name is actually James Bond, if you are an IT consultant, you will also be known as the IT guy. Introduction. I'm doing some on-site project management for one client. Standard equipment and network refresh stuff being handled by another contractor. My job is to keep them on time and on task. I don't get the ins and outs of why 2 contractors to do the job, but they are paying me an inflated hourly rate, so none of my business. The contract specs are crystal clear. The other company handles all the technical stuff and I manage the timeline. In fact, there is a clause that I'm not even supposed to touch the equipment. Maybe it is security, maybe it is some government funding BS, maybe someone's brother is making a ton of cash on a weird deal, doesn't really matter to me. But those are the terms, don't touch the stuff. The network is down. I'm at my desk looking at the timeline, checking on some deliveries, and about ready to hop on a status update meeting. The job is going well. Despite the supply chain, we are still getting deliveries more or less on time. I've got to move around a few things, but looks like we are going to finish on time and under budget. That is, as long as the clowns the other contractor have don't F it up. The first set of guys were fine. They were seasoned system admins who came in and did all the backroom stuff over a long weekend. Looked good, and their supervisor gave me a full briefing. But for some reason, maybe the market or just saving a few bucks, they fielded the bomb squad of techs to deploy workstations. I mean, these guys were so dumb there was no way they could ever figure out they were dumb, kind of stupid. They literally had flipbooks of every step to follow, including how to take the machine out of the box and where to stage the mouse and keyboard. I've never seen anything like this, although, but whatever, it isn't rocket science getting these things up and running. They seem to be doing an adequate job meeting the goal and the end of the day. That is until one guy screams, "The internet is broken." Outage outrage. It is the middle of the workday and this company is going full tilt with sales. The location is almost fully staffed, and of course one of the big sales guys has a 5 p.m. deadline to get something to a client. After a few minutes of confusion, one of the company leads comes into the conference room where I have set up shop and asks me if I can take a look. They can't find their internal guy anywhere. Now, I am generally pretty helpful even if it isn't in my scope of work, but here I'm a bit hesitant. The contract said I'm not to touch the equipment. I'm there for project management only. So, I tell the lead that I'm not comfortable unless he can give me something in writing. IT guy, look, the contract is pretty specific here. Lead, is there anything you can do? We have a call in for our guy, but no one knows where he is and these other contractors have no idea what is going on. IT guy, if you can give me something in writing. Lead, frustrated, all the brass are off site today and I'm in charge, but I don't have much authority. There is going to be a revolt in about 15 minutes unless we do something now. I'll write you an email or something as long as you can just maybe take a look. Don't do anything, but just see if you can get a handle on what we need to do. Okay, good enough for me. send me that email. Well, that was easy. I start by taking a look in the back room. Switches and firewall all look stable. Servers are all running. But then I notice a few of the switches have a ton of activity. Like flashing more than the Christmas tree in the town square kind of action going on. That is weird. I ask the lead to take me to where drop 47 is because that switch is acting particularly strange from just the optics of it. He starts looking around at the plates and gets some lady to help him. But whoever did the wiring job actually kept the drops sequential order. Nice job, guy, wherever you are, which made it easier to track down. This takes us to an area where these contractors are staging the new equipment. Gomer and his pals are just sitting around playing on their phones, presumably because they can't complete their current staging job until the network is back up. I ask the one guy to show me how they have the staging area wired, and he points over to a mess of cables, routers, hubs, and other network equipment. I start tracing back all the various cables and find one router jacked into 2 sequential drops. Well, that is the issue right there, simple broadcast storm. IT guy, hey, why did you do that? Gomer, the internet was slow, so we plugged it in again to make it go faster. Ugh. These idiots brought down an entire network for almost an hour because they lack basic tech skills. I tell the lead what needs to be done, and once we clear the loop and power cycle the affected switches, everything is back up and running. Just in time for their in-house IT team to come busting through the main door. Back to work. I go back to the conference room where I have my ad hoc office and complete whatever I was doing for that day. At 5, the lead comes in and thanks me profusely. Apparently whatever the deal was with the deadline was a huge deal, and they were just able to transmit all the files right before a contractual deadline that if it was missed out have cost them a huge chunk of revenue. Of course, no good deed goes unpunished. Apparently one of the in-house guys caught wind that I helped troubleshoot the problem and made a fuss, don't know why or his motivation. Glad I had the email, and the lead, to his credit, had my back when legal came to investigate. It was a mild pain, but the lead has given me multiple good references since, so maybe it was worth it. About a week after the job concluded, I got an unexpected knock at my door. It was a delivery driver with a nice gift basket. Surprised, I looked for a note. Turns out it was from the lead, and the note had a simple inscription: "Thanks, IT guy. I have complicated problems." So this is a pretty quick one, but amused me because of this person's constant demeanor. For some background, I have support responsibilities at a law firm, and anyone who knows the setting knows that paralegals are some of the most high-strung people on the face of the planet. Partially because they're beholden to lawyers, and partially, at least in my mind, because they're not lawyers and feel the need to make up for it by being spastic. They have also predominantly become remote workers during the pandemic, and it hasn't helped the issue. This story concerns one such paralegal. PL, paralegal. OT, old tech guy, my predecessor, really good at making people think he's a magician. SKD, little old me. Now for the meat of the story. PL, hey, SKD. My printer is down again, lol. SKD, that's a bummer. Do you have a moment to remote in and troubleshoot this? Roughly 3 hours of radio silence. PL, sorry, so busy today, you know how it is. SKD, no problem at all, I'll just hop in and have a look around. PL, yeah, it took OT 2 hours to fix this the last time I had issues. I'm always having these weird problems. Do you think I could get a new print dash? SKD, hey, I'm not having any issues communicating with the printer from your device. Could you take a look at it and tell me if there are any errors? PL, getting more faint over the phone as she walks away. Oh, I'm sure it's not that I just have terrible luck with tech. Oh, it looks like my kids used all the paper without telling me. Well, I guess I won't take up more of your time. SKD, oh man, haha, it happens. Have a great one. Keep in mind we have a pretty specific policy in place that the firm-issued home-use printers are not supposed to be used for non-firm related items. They're on a contract that automatically bills us for usage. The last time I helped her out, she called my competence into question by encouraging me to just go and ask my predecessor how he had fixed her issue the last time. Someone had missed a period in the IP address when they configured her printer. Definitely worth consulting folks over. But it doesn't have a second tray. It was that time of the multi-year cycle. Time for new printers. That time where a disproportionate amount of the IT budget is spent on big, expensive, bulky printers, even for the departments that for some reason have desk printers on top of departmental ones because enough of them complained to the right people that they got desk printers for workflow efficiency. Anyway, per usual, the behemoth industrial upright printers were being replaced with very slightly smaller behemoths that had new shiny software and a sleeker, more modern look. The printer makes/model/specs were cleared with all department heads before ordering and were exact matches for the previous printer's spec-wise, except a higher ppm and lacking a finisher add-on that went and used in the previous cycle, with few enough exceptions that our graphics printer could take care of it. Everything went remarkably smoothly, the new drivers deployed without a hitch, and everyone was happy. Except one department. This department called and complained almost immediately that it didn't have a second tray. The printers have the same number of paper trays, including one bypass, so there was a bit of confusion on our part. You see, the lack of additional trays would definitely be an issue since many departments need multiple paper sizes available at the same time without swapping. However, we double-checked and all the trays were present and accounted for. Until we were shown by the complainee that the old printer had two output trays. One in the body and one on the finisher. This was a purely cosmetic second tray that came out of the finisher if booklets were being made and had no bearing on the amount of prints/copies the printer could process. Copies would also come out of the finisher tray, but only after a normal print job completed. We of course let them know that the lack of a second tray doesn't affect print speed, and that their copies/prints would come out at even faster speed, but that didn't seem matter. It used to work that way. The most dangerous phrase in the organization was brought out. Then my boss's boss was contacted and they complained. We made our case, they made their case, and several thousand more dollars were spent on a finisher add-on, so they could have their paper come out in two different places. You don't know what you're talking about. Short little story, but I thought you might enjoy it. Prior to these events, I spent a bit over a year as a technician fixing all types of issues on copiers and printers. One day I'm working my side gig, where I'm not in any sort of support role, and I'm in the office of one of my bosses. He's one of those guys, you know the type. Can't be wrong, knows everything, and regularly makes a fool of himself with his knowledge. Boss is trying to print out a document, and keeps getting the same result. The first page prints, then the backside has a line of odd random characters, then the third page will print normal. Boss is getting increasingly annoyed by this, thinking his printer is broken. I decided to pipe up before he gets too angry and explain his issue to him. Most of us have seen this by now, and probably already know where I'm going. I explained to him that he's using a generic default driver for his printer, which is fine for some basic stuff, but with everything on this document, including the duplexing, it's not going to work correctly due to the computer and the printer not communicating properly. I explained to him that due to the setup of our systems he needs to contact IT and have them install the correct driver, since we're locked out of all admin functions. The entire time I'm talking, this guy just keeps going on with "Nah, that's not it, it's something else," and even goes so far as to tell me you don't know what you're talking about. I finally just gave up and sat there staring at him with a blank face. After a moment he just full stops, and slowly you can see the realization dawning on him. He was fully aware that my other gig was copier technician. He finally gives me a sheepish look and says I just remembered who I'm talking to. All I could say was yup. Spoiler alert, this did nothing to correct his general attitude towards technicians. Oh well. Cropping images, the confounding process. Hi all, a friend of mine who does not work in tech support had a brief story to share that I think fits here. Context is this: my friend Susan is a young woman working in a male-dominated industry, in a job she describes as between sales and tech. She often trains the salespeople on how to use some of the software. This story is from one of those times. Susan was working with a guy from Sales Jack, who has previously requested to get on calls with Susan for help with "You really shouldn't need help with this kind of issues." Jack requested a call with Susan for help with a particular software tool. The actual purpose of the software is irrelevant. The software in question had a profile section for the user, and the profile section allowed the user to upload and crop a profile image. Jack had some issue with the cropping tool, asked Susan to get on a call to help. Susan does the normal troubleshooting steps, gets to the point where she can see the actual error message, and here's what she finds. Error: crop selection must fit within the image area. Yes, the issue is what you'd think it was. Jack tried to crop the whole image, and then some, and Jack wanted help understanding the error. I happened to be in the room when Susan was on the call, and her professionalism about the matter lasted right up to the moment the call ended.